Compass Mining makes Bitcoin mining accessible to everyone. Start mining in as little as 48 hours with our turnkey hardware, online and mining directly to your Bitcoin wallet within 2 business days. Find out more at compassmining.io and get started now. Hey miners, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, the new home of power mining analysis. Monday morning, what an absolutely incredible start to the week we're having in the Bitcoin mining sector. Obviously, Bitcoin has been rallying in a big way over the weekend, currently flirting with $85,000 US at the time of filming. We just surpassed $118,000 here in Canada. So much to talk about in today's video. We can hardly contain our excitement. Before we get into it though, take a second, smash the like button, you guys. Let's get this video out to as many people as possible to spread the Bitcoin message. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to join and let me know in the comment section below how the portfolio is looking, how you're feeling, and your outlook or forecast for Bitcoin price target in the final few months of 2024. Now, with that being said, let's get into today's podcast. Okay, guys, so that's right. Monday morning, the podcast of a lifetime, what we've all been waiting for. Anthony, you've made so much money last week. You went out and bought yourself a new light here, it looks like, for the podcast. We've got some new lighting. Before we get into that, though, on a serious note, Anthony, Veterans Day in the United States, Memorial Day here in Canada. I know you have 25 years of service under your belt. Obviously, the Bitcoin miners are moving great today, but we did want to take a second and just acknowledge that and thank everyone for their service here.
Yeah, absolutely. We had the Remembrance Day yesterday in the UK, where not just UK military, but all the Commonwealth military as well celebrate that day. And there's a march past the cenotaph for ex-serving members, and many thousands line up there. And I heard something yesterday, I was listening to the commentary and this blew my mind. So they said, obviously, we're here to remember those people that made it possible for us to be here today through those wars. And they said if those people that passed away during those wars had lined up, 3 across in a column, the column would have stretched from London all the way to Edinburgh, which is over 400 miles away. So it just put a little bit of context of, what yesterday was all about. Made me think a little bit more about my career, about people that didn't make it. Even in my career, we're still doing, operational tours in the likes of Iraq and Afghanistan, the Falklands, and other places that weren't, the normal type of postings for what you initially sign up for, but you do the job. So yesterday was Remembrance. Today's Veterans Day in North America. So great to mention that in the podcast.
Yeah, it certainly is. And you talk about all the people who gave the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. And obviously, Bitcoin closely relates with freedom. So to me, it's definitely a special day. And we wanted to acknowledge that. Now, with that being said, Anthony, obviously, Bitcoin has had a tremendous move over the weekend. Really, for the past 2 weeks or so leading into the election, we talked about this critical mass, this snowball effect. When were we going to hit that inertia where the snowball could no longer be slowed down anymore? It seems like we've hit that now. So we've had obviously the Trump election come in very pro Bitcoin. They've come out and said they want to get this strategic reserve to the tune of 200,000 coins per year. We've got Michael Saylor who's buying Bitcoin. I don't even know where he's finding all this money to buy the Bitcoin. It's really relentless right now. That's caused Bitcoin to surge over the weekend. I know it's over 84,000 now, is flirting with 85 here in Canada because our dollar's worth, like you like to say, nothing, Anthony, 118,000, which is just absolutely mind blowing. You guys, I have a visual here. 14 years ago, you could have picked up a Bitcoin for 50 cents and now it'll put you back 85,000. So with that being said, the miners are off to the races here, Anthony. We have a mid-morning market update. Almost all of them are in the double digits. We've got a good portion that are in the 20 something percentages. Like I say, this is just absolutely the day we've all been waiting for.
Yeah, it's been a great day. So Bitcoin did achieve 85,000 literally just before the podcast. It's now back in sort of like mid 84,000 territory, but everything seems to pull back a little bit. It's just ready to start again. And so I firmly believe we're going somewhere with this Bitcoin price. Not even looking to, I mean, I'm not going to sell my Bitcoin anyway, but the volatility of the Bitcoin has only meant, as we've said before, the mining companies are the second thing you should be looking at after Bitcoin price, and the likes of MicroStrategy as well. But the miners today are doing really well, and many, like you say, up double digits, but there's 4 or 5 of them over 20% up. And one of those, CleanSpark, is now back trading again. So it had its, stop trading, I think, closed on Thursday last week. So no trading on Friday, but as soon as trading commenced today, they were released to trade again. So looks like everything's been sorted out with all their documentation there. And yeah, firmly, above the 20% mark up there. So had a little bit of catch up from Friday, because a lot of the mining stocks were up on Friday. So it's been playing catch up there, and it's back in the pack again now. So, but yeah, really good day. I mean, actually, I think you're looking down the miners, and actually CIFR started off really well first thing this morning. We got the pre-market updates, and bear in mind, you can now literally trade 24/7 Monday to Friday. The markets are open. I saw the markets open as I was going to bed last night, and I dropped Bryce a note saying the miners are already up pre-market between 10 and 13%. As I tried to sleep through the night, which is quite challenging, because, when the Bitcoin price is rising constantly and the miners are following, you want to see that big surprise in the morning. And it wasn't disappointed this morning. The miners were up again this morning. So, and then they pulled back a little bit before opening. I thought, oh no, not normal American,
Not
issue again.
Yeah.
They're going to bring it down again, but no, it's they rallied again. So
just before we get going too far here, I wanted to point out Wulf, Core, CIFR on my list here are showing the bottom 3 performers. You mentioned last week about the correlation between HPC. Now the inverse, when we see Bitcoin really rally, the HPC exposure plays kind of lag. They're still in the green, obviously still great, and Core's flirting with all-time highs. But can you just give us a little color there?
yeah, we've seen this with Core Scientific over the last sort of few weeks. When the Bitcoin price has dropped, that's the stock that's actually gone green, because it's relying then on HPC. And for 1 minute, I don't think that HPC contract's factored into their share price fully at the moment. There's no way possibly it can. And we've done that before on another podcast, looked at the value of that contract. And bear in mind, with 500 megawatts currently contracted to CoreWeave, with another 130 megawatts looking for another client out there, that's going to be a revenue of maybe 11 billion over the next 12 years, with significant profits, probably above 8 billion in profit. And when you start factoring that amount in and looking at a relevant price earnings ratio for a HPC contract, and use 15, you'll know that the share price at the moment is nowhere near reflective of where that is there. And what should be said about Core Scientific, probably, I'm going to say one of the best operators in Bitcoin mining out there, because their costs of the earnings that we've seen so far, they've produced some of the lowest costs for mining Bitcoin of all the 3 or 4 that have released their earnings up to now. We're going to get a lot more earnings released this week. But Core Scientific showed this in the previous quarter as well. They run a tight ship there. They've got a good team now, led by Adam Sullivan. We had him on the podcast last week. Great podcast. I've not managed to catch him on that one. Watched that podcast last week. And it's a well-run company, but people are focusing on the HPC. They're actually a big Bitcoin miner. There's not many miners with over 20 exahash of operational hash rate. Only 3 or 4 of them out there, and they do a really good job from that side. And now they're going to be delivering a significant HPC. But yeah, when the Bitcoin price is running like this, it's going to focus on what we call those miners that are focused on growth. Now, bucking that trend in terms of HPC are a couple of miners. Bit Digital were up at one point today, 26% up, I think it was. It's pulled back a little bit, still significantly up. And the main reason for that is probably the fact that they've got Ethereum on their balance sheet, and a lot of Ethereum as well, over 27,000 coins. So we've seen the Ethereum price outmaneuver the Bitcoin price the last sort of week or so. Now it's getting to $3,300, and looks like it's about to, in the same way Bitcoin is about to move to the next level, and that will help Bit Digital with having that large balance there. Plus they've got HPC. Plus they've got a small, effectively now a small Bitcoin mining business. And the other one is Hive Digital as well. So Hive have got a HPC business. They're growing their Bitcoin mining. So that's their, obviously their main business is deliver Bitcoin mining, but they're trying to grow HPC as quickly as the Bitcoin mining. And we'll come on to some of the announcements from Hive, but their share price is equally doing, reasonably well today. I think it was up 15%, even up higher at the start of the market today.
Yeah, most definitely. We're going to come on to Hive's news in a second. I'm glad you brought up CleanSpark resuming trading. Really didn't miss a beat. There were some really interesting tweets going around talking about people trying to close out their short positions on Friday. So I almost wonder if that halt may have worked to our long or bull advantage here. Now, you mentioned 27,000 Ethereum. Ethereum price alongside Bitcoin is rallying tremendously here over the weekend. Interestingly enough, I saw Michael Saylor also put out a tweet saying they just picked up an additional 27,000 Bitcoin, which is a little funny because that's essentially Marathon Digital's entire hodl that they went out and purchased in one go. So again, Michael Saylor, he's a beast of his own, but an incredible bull for Bitcoin. And as you say, Anthony, if you're ever feeling a little down about Bitcoin, plug that guy in for 5 minutes and you'll be off to the races. Now, you talk about Hive. So let's get into their news next. They did a big fleet upgrade. So that was some great news there. A couple other pieces that we wanted to dissect as well.
Yeah. So they've announced formally the groundbreaking in Paraguay, which is, it's good to hear because obviously once the ground's broken, then they put some photographs of it. It's not just broken; they've actually done sort of like the groundworks. It looks like across most of the site there now, so you can see the land's been, is top layer of the land's been taken off there. They've ordered all the parts and everything like that, so they'll be coming in. They expect to get some hash rate going in early 2025, and then the majority of the hash rate will come online in Q3 2025, as they emphasized in their previous updates. Now, this will take them to a total of about 12.5 exahash rate. So they're at 5.6 as we speak. This is, along with some other news that came out today, takes them up to 12.5. And that's predominantly where Hive have said they want to be. They want to have about 2% of the global hash rate. So you look at the global hash rate today, it's about 650 exahash. 2% of that would be about 13 exahash. And that's probably the target that Hive are looking for. The second update that came out today was regards to their buying new machines from Canaan. So they're going to get some machines delivered now in this month now, and then over the next 4 months there'll be deliveries every month there. And those machines are probably the most efficient machines that Hive will have in their facilities, and they'll be there to replace some of the early S19 machines at the 30 joules a terahash. So these new ones coming in, I think they're about 16.5 joules a terahash. Are really, really efficient mining machines. And again, it just emphasizes that these mining companies, instead of just growing hash rate, they've got to replace machines as well. So it's not like, you can buy 10,000 S21 Pros and think that's it for the rest of the next 5 years. No, you've got to start thinking about when you're going to replace those. They don't seem to be having a phenomenally long life cycle. You're looking at miners replacing every 3 years. In fact, IREN, people have questioned IREN. IREN have literally replaced the whole fleet. I mean, to have an efficiency for the whole fleet of 16, and they're at 21 exahash of installed hash rate, you've literally got to have the majority of those machines have got to be S21 Pros delivering 15 joules a terahash. They're only at 16, so it doesn't give you a lot of miners with less efficiency to build into that portfolio of miners. So, we'll wait for their earnings to come out in the next few weeks to determine something like the levels of depreciation that will have applied with what they've machines that replaced. If they weren't fully depreciated, we'll see a big depreciation charge on their accounts for that there. So this is Hive, doing their housekeeping as well. So bringing in new machines, getting that hash rate up there. So that hash rate should get sort of like to, above 6 exahash in the next few weeks. Maybe the November update will highlight that with a more efficient. Now, they're already operating at 22.1 in terms of joules per terahash. And that is one of the, there's only CleanSpark, IREN, and Bitfarms who've got a more efficient fleet than Hive at the moment. So certainly going in the right direction. We know they keep costs down as well. So it'll be a good indicator. Their results come out this week. We've got them on the podcast next week. So, we'll be able to get a lot more information from the likes of Frank and Aidan on the podcast about these purchases, about that site in Paraguay, and a lot more other questions that we may get from some of the retail shareholders.
Yeah, great points, Anthony. And you're right, with the rising Bitcoin price, obviously the gross margins on the self-mining portion of these businesses are going to be improving. So it's great to see Hive increasing that fleet. It is an interesting question you bring up about IREN, though. If they are going to replace their entire fleet to get to that efficiency, what did they do with the old machines, and were they fully depreciated by the time they swapped them out? Those are great questions to ask.
If you remember, Bitdeer have replaced some of their machines, and what they've done is they've auctioned off the older machines and they sold them all. So that no matter where you are, so yes, a North American miner with an S19, 100 terahash a second, with an efficiency of 30 joules a terahash might not be great for a North American miner, but that machine will be good to somebody else around the world who's got access to really cheap or even like zero cost power. So, if you're paying 4 or 5 cents a kilowatt hour for your energy, 30 joules a terahash isn't going to really give you the level of margin that you need. So not good for North American miner, but maybe in Africa or in maybe some of the colder countries, maybe the likes of, Asia or even Russia, where they've got access to maybe cheaper energy. If you can get your energy prices down to 1 or 2 cents kilowatt hour, then you can still mine with those machines and deliver a margin at 30 joules a terahash. So there'll always be a market for those. And then we've talked about other things that you can do with the chips from these mining machines as well to repurpose them. So we've covered that in previous podcasts. So we'd expect to get something in the update about what they're doing with all the old machines. And if we don't, then we'll get Dan on the podcast and ask him what the plan was.
Compass Mining is your trusted partner in Bitcoin mining. Whether you're investing in one machine or thousands, our customizable solutions are tailored to meet your needs. We are your experts in Bitcoin mining, offering a platform where individuals and businesses can purchase hardware, host machines, and access a range of ancillary Bitcoin mining services. We also specialize in large-scale site development and data center operations. Discover more at compassmining.io and see how we can power your success today. Yeah, most definitely. Who knows? Maybe they're heating some greenhouses, cooking some vegetables, as we saw in Amsterdam with those.
Australia.
Maybe not. Hey, speaking of questions, interviews, CEOs, we've got a stacked week here, Anthony. So tomorrow we've got Neptune Digital Assets. This is actually a Canadian company involved in the crypto space, so that's going to be a good one. Wednesday, Bitfarms Q3 earnings with Ben. That's going to be a phenomenal podcast. One of the most popular guests on the channel. Then Thursday, we've got a double header. We've got Asher and Sue in the morning for Hut 8. We've got Soluna with John Belizaire in the afternoon. And then Friday, Wulf Pack, bright and early, 8 a.m., Patrick Fleury, CFO, talking about financials and earnings. And then at 1:30 p.m. in the afternoon, so the matinee or the second edition of Power Mining on Friday, we've got the new CEO, Steve Gutterman from Gryphon. So that's going to be great. It's his first time on the podcast. Great to get an update on his strategy and vision as Gryphon enters this bull market. So one other thing I quickly wanted to bring up here, Anthony, obviously our Miner Madness competition is in full swing. So we've made a few website enhancements. I'll let you talk about Miner Madness, but we now have the Analyst leaderboard live on the website. We've got our interview calendar live. We've got summaries of each one of our interviews. So a lot of people have told us, hey, these are great, but they're an hour long, they're half hour long. I don't have the time to commit. So we've actually now put in a bullet or point form summary of each one of our videos you guys can check out. And in addition to that, we've got some live miner data that we're continuing to add and enhance to, Anthony, but a number of key updates on the website. The main one of which obviously is the live Analyst Miner Madness leaderboard.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got the live leaderboard and the live analyst leaderboard on the website. So that's getting fed with all the live prices. Couple of things to sort of like to highlight. And this is really goes back to what we said at the start of the podcast in terms of, if you'd invested in the last sort of 5 or 6 weeks of the mining companies, how much you'd be up. So we have Dan Terrence in number one place. He's been number one actually for the majority of the period since we started the competition. So the competition started effectively on the 1st of October. We took the share prices from the closing position on the 30th of September, and his 3 stocks have delivered a whopping 95% gain in just 5.5 weeks. Now, if we go to the bottom of the table, even at the bottom of the table, so we've got another Anthony who's in there and he's picked out 3 stocks there. He's also delivered a 21% return. So the bottom of the table, this is the whole table. Bottom of the whole table has delivered a 21% return on 3 stocks, which is incredible. Going to the analyst live table, well, you're leading the table at the moment, and you're actually 16th in terms of position in the whole competition.
And that 99,999 looks pretty good now, Anthony.
Well, I think anything above 88,888, which is my prediction, looks
Yeah.
pretty good. As we'll probably surpass that in the next few days. But it was all, from our perspective, it's a bit of fun on picking the Bitcoin price there. The stocks are doing really well. So you've delivered 83%. I'm coming in second place in this table at 66%. But actually, even if we go down to Bitcoin Bella, who's in ninth position in terms of the analysts, she's delivered a 51% or nearly 52% return in terms of gain. And if you said to me at the start of the competition after 6 weeks, you have a 50% return by picking 3 stocks, I'd take that all day long. So pretty amazing place to be in the Bitcoin space. Bitcoin and Ethereum haven't performed anywhere near that level of percentage, and we do say about the volatility of mining stocks. But go on the website. There's a search there. Put your name in the search, and you'll find out where your position is on the website. There's also a live analyst table. Go and see how the analysts are doing. It also tells you their ranking from a perspective of the whole competition as well. So really, really positive. Had a lot of traction to the website on this, but have a look at there. Have a look at some of the updates that Bryce just covered previously. We're constantly making everything as much live as possible there. Even by next week, we've got 3 or 4 new enhancements coming to the website. So it's a non-stop process. But the competition is really heating up. We're nearly halfway. Lots of prizes. Can't stress. We've got a lot of prizes for the people who do really well at the top of the competition. And we've had a lot of positive feedback from the mining companies, lots of swag available. And we'll talk about that on the next podcast, maybe.
Yeah, we certainly will. What a great time and idea to start a Q4 Miner Madness trading competition right at the start of October, Anthony. That one worked out extremely well. This may go down as the most successful trading competition in history. As you say, the last place person is in a better spot than most competitions' first place winner. So great update there, you guys. With that being said, Anthony, the last piece we wanted to talk about, Marathon, coming out with a fairly major addition to their portfolio in the state of Ohio. So we can touch on that one, then we'll wrap it up.
So they've released an update today. They've acquired 2 sites totaling 222 megawatts, and they've paid around about $270 per kilowatt. And when you look at what other miners have been paying, Marathon is saying this is pretty much some of the cheapest amounts. I know we've spoke with Jason. I think theirs was like over 400, but we're talking about immersion cooling there, so the cost would be a little bit more higher. But that seems to be a really good rate. And one thing about Marathon, when they've been buying these sites, they've actually been putting out there the costs of what they've been paying for them, in the same way that CleanSpark do as well. When there's nothing too secret. I think we get we get a lot more information than we do maybe in other sectors, in the mining sector. There's a lot of transparency out there. So I'm sure this will please, the Marathon retail shareholders. Get these sites, get the machines plugged in. What's not totally clear, and we're hearing this terminology now about 150 megawatts of compute. It's not saying Bitcoin mining, it's not saying HPC. So it's covering all the bases. If this was Bitcoin mining only, they'd have put Bitcoin mining. But part of me feels this is maybe Marathon lining up, to go into that area as well. But remember what Adam said on the podcast. Really valid point. Don't just go in there if you've got a couple of people in the team who've maybe been involved in a HPC project before. You need the experience to deliver this. And there are very few miners out there that have got experience in delivering sizable data centers fit for purpose for high performance computing. And we know that because we can highlight on the podcast, there's, literally only about 3 or 4 of them who are out of the 32 miners in North America who've got that vast experience. Core Scientific have got that experience. They've worked alongside CoreWeave for many, many years. This has not happened this year, this contract's been in the making for a long time. And that relationship's been built over time. They were doing a pilot HPC contract earlier this year. So Marathon have employed or brought onto the board 2 people with HPC experience from their previous backgrounds. And maybe that's strengthening their resolve in that particular area. But it's not a case of we can just switch over. Adam said, you'll be found wanting. He said that when he went for the conversations with CoreWeave brought 30 people to the meeting. And fortunately, from Core Scientific's perspective, they brought everybody too. Yeah. And so all the supply chain was there. And, all the supply chain that Core Scientific are going to use to deliver this were known to CoreWeave. So when he turned up at the meeting, it was a case of, oh, so you're going to look, yeah, we can see, and they could see everything lining up. You've got to be prepared for that. It's not just going like the CEO and the chief operating officer and a couple of other managers. They're going to want to see everybody there at the meetings to warrant the fact that you've got experience in delivering this, and you can be there to answer any questions. And planning and preparation prevents poor performance. And so this is what Core Scientific did, and Marathon will need to take heed of that if they're going to get into this space and make sure that they're fully prepared as well. But they're the largest Bitcoin miner out there. I'm sure they'll bring in the right talent, and that's what Adam also said. Make sure you have the right talent in your team. It's not just about having the money and the balance sheet to deliver this. You have to have the talent. The talent comes at a cost as well. So take heed of that there from Adam. I'm sure most people would want that contract that they've got with CoreWeave, and to do that, you need to understand what they did to get that contract.
Most definitely. No, and we heard him talk about the importance of human capital. It's funny you thought that was an interesting point about the 30 people meetings as well. That's the exact point we pulled for our short that we just put out on Core Scientific. And yes, Anthony, we've heard proper planning prevents piss poor performance, I believe is the full statement. And that's a military term as well, isn't it, on Veterans Day?
We use that in the military. I didn't want to be crude on the podcast, but you've opened the doors now. So
well, you say it to me every time I screw up, so we might as well get it out there.
Not on the podcast.
Quick question. This is an important one, Anthony. I wanted to know, and guys, take a listen here. We've been in the space years and years, Anthony. We've been planning for this week, for Bitcoin to break out, for all-time highs, for global adoption. Now we find ourselves in this spot. So we've been researching these stocks. We built our positions. How should people be feeling now when they're looking at their portfolio? They're seeing 10, 20% gains on a daily basis. Maybe they're making more money now than they have in the past. They don't know when to exit. They're not sure where the top is. They've got this excitement. What should people be doing right now, Anthony, in their portfolio when they look at these gains and they see this type of moves?
Yeah, I was having a chat with an investor yesterday, and you want to start looking to trim some of your stocks if you've made some significant profits. And believe you me, this last month or so, many people in the space will have made, significant percentage increases on their mining stocks. So it's not a case of like you have to sell the whole position, but you should have a plan to maybe trim some down, maybe put some cash on the sidelines. Nobody knows how long this goes, but we're in a good position with Bitcoin at the moment. This is we just had an election. Trump won the election, very positive on Bitcoin. Already sort of like articulating towards having the Bitcoin as the reserve currency, and going to buy a significant amount. I think it's 1 million Bitcoin over the next 4 years. So that's the plan during this administration. And if America are going to buy 1 million Bitcoin over 4 years, what do you think other developed countries will start doing well, or even some of the underdeveloped countries? We've already seen the likes of El Salvador and the benefit they've received. I mean, people were laughing at El Salvador when they did it, and they issued a wallet to every member of the country. Every resident of El Salvador got a Bitcoin wallet, and I think in that wallet was $30 of Bitcoin to start them off. So $30 when that wallet came out would probably maybe $90 or $100 now. So and also the fact that with inflation in some of these countries, Bitcoin doesn't have, there's no inflation there. It's you look at the price of, we've already what we said 14 years ago it was 50 cents. Today it's 85,000, 84,000. Go back to the days 14 years ago. How many Bitcoin would it cost you to buy an iPhone 3? Yeah, so it wouldn't hurt to trim some of the stocks down, take some of the profits now. I'm not saying take all. I mean, the Bitcoin price, they're saying get to 100,000 by the end of the year. I've no doubt it's edging that way now. I mean, if it's already gone up 8% in the last 4 or 5 days since the election, so there's no reason why it can't go up another 10 or 12% to get it to 100,000, and the Bitcoin miners will follow that. But it's uncertainty after that, and we are in a cycle. If to follow the bull cycle, I know you've got a screenshot of the previous cycles. We're at the bottom of the bull cycle. I mean, this thing could go into hundreds of thousands if we follow the same cycle as before, in terms of how much percentage increase post a halving the Bitcoin price would go. Then it's likely to go up to say 250, 300,000. But, if you take the gamble, many people gambled in 2021 and watched that Bitcoin price get to 69,000 and saw it drop as quick as it got there. In fact, far quicker. And I know there's retail investors, because I speak to retail investors, they send me DMs, and some of them are still on some of these stocks that we talk about on a daily basis are still down from the 2021 prices. And I'm talking the likes of, people who held Marathon Digital, held Riot, held, Hive, held Hut, held maybe some Bitfarms. Some of these stocks that were really well performing that early part of 2021 got to some really high prices, some really big market caps. Marathon hit 8 billion market cap. Riot hit probably, I think, 6 or 7 billion in 2021. Them stocks haven't even reached that price now, and they're 10 times the size of the company in terms of hash rate. Learn from what people made a mistake before, and where appropriate, take some profits. I'm certainly going to be looking to take some profits maybe in the next, few weeks. Not saying take everything, but just take some profits, put some cash there on the side, and then if the prices drop, you're able to, to enter at a lower price, and again, you can make profit from that position.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And that's why I wanted to ask the question, Anthony. I know you were involved in the last cycle. It's great when there's euphoria, everything's going up, but you guys, this is a generational opportunity. This is a 4-year cycle. There's obviously a lot on the line for many of the people watching this show. So don't get caught flat-footed. You guys, make sure you're averaging in, make sure you're averaging out, taking profits along the way. And as they say, you can never go broke taking a profit. I myself am guilty of that, Anthony. I need to get out of that mentality of trying to squeeze every last percent or dollar out of a trade, and just understand that as long as you're able to capture the majority of the move, you're going to be very, very well served over your career as an investor. So you guys, hopefully you're doing great in the market today, having a fun day. This is what we've been waiting for years and years on the channel. It seems it's finally come, but as we mentioned, anything can happen. There's black swan events all the time in investing, so make sure you're prepared for both outcomes. Leave a comment in the section below. Let us know how you're feeling today. What is your new Bitcoin price for the end of the year as we've seen this massive influx in attention and inflows. If you're not subscribed, feel free to join, hit the like button. We'll see you back here tomorrow.